Hello and welcome, my name is Lynx, and we are jumping into the driver Takeshiba, Chapter 3, Skyburn. It has been a long journey. Not really. I mean, third chapter, fourth episode, because also epilogue. Prologue. Anyway. The highway was an unrelenting blur of featureless surroundings. Okay. Lady Hinode was looking forward to it because she hoped she would be able to talk with Takeshiba-kun, perhaps a bit more than usual. But she was sick. Struck with high fever that she refused to admit to in the morning in the hopes it would go away. Has now taken a hold of her in full force. Oh boy. Her eyelids felt heavy, and even the cooling air conditioning seemed to provide no relief. That's a problem. She could feel how Takeshiba-kun was driving especially smoothly, trying to keep the Aika storm on the road with the least amount of vibrations and only the faintest of G-forces. The humming of the car engine was slowly, but inevitably making her lose consciousness and drift into sleep. For a second, she thought she could not let that happen, for fear of falling into a feverish sleep in which she may talk, and then she might... But she was too weak for even that. She heard nothing anymore, even the engine seemed to have stopped humming, only bells. Yes, the bells. Increasingly, louder and louder. I'm guessing it was the phone. Torn away from her delirium and realizing her surroundings once again with a conscious mind, she picked up the phone. A cheerful voice greeted her. In French. Ooh, ew, ew, ew. Oh, hello. We can fix her. We can fix her. She will be on our side in a second. Grenadine Pin Exploder Extraordinaire. Shining star which incinerates. A heart breaks into millions. I mean, she's not Lady Hinode level, but we can fix her. Nice to make your acquaintance, Lady Hinode. That's a nice car. Why? Said Lady Hinode, who immediately understood that another killer was sent for her in a faint voice. But client privilege? I can tell you why your rivals desire a definite and fearing death, but you can make an educated guess, none? Her voice sounded almost cheerful, and her car came to full view. Chesua. Oh, if it's a French car, then we are safe. Everyone knows French cars flipping suck. Mirage W16 Quad Turbo. High velocity and bombast at any cost. The Mirage W16 holds the world speed record. No one can run away. I wouldn't be so sure. I mean, it might hold the speed record. You know, when there is nothing in the way, there is no obstacles. But if there are obstacles, it's a different case. Also, if it's French, it sucks. Come on. Everyone knows French cars are terrible. Lady Hinode was struggling to respond as her strength was escaping her. She was burning up from fever, and the sudden surge of adrenaline was able to only sustain her consciousness for a little while. If I may, Lady Hinode is sick and needs to rest now. We are driving home. Suddenly the driver spoke. Oh, how rude! The underling speaks for his master! Grenadine said, amused. He always has my permission, Lady Hinode said, with the last bit of her strength. She collapsed deep in her seat, at the brink of passing out. Oh, Monsieur Chauffeur, as soon as may be indeed getting interesting. I've read quite a dossier on you and your lady. Yeah, she's sick. Need to get her home. Adios. He replied, not acknowledging the tone of the last two words she said. Oh, the dossier was right. It's that you're a very capable driver. If a bit slow when it comes to, well, everything else. Why would you say that? That's bullshit. An outlaw attempt to speak could be heard from Hinode, but she was too weak. It's notable that she at least cares about the legacy of her father enough to try to defend you. Do you remember her father? Grenadine said in a normal voice, but with a sinister undertone. I have seen his pictures, yes. I see. Of course it's like that. Ugh, a bit boring. But you never know. Maybe there'll be a picture of him beside him soon. All right then. Oh, yes. Or however you say that. Who cares? Grenadine abruptly stepped on the accelerator, and the Mirage darted forward with such speed it already appeared as though it was toying with them. Takeshiba put the car into maximum power, engaging all boosts, but it seemed laughable to even try. The buckler, as if ignoring the laws of physics, comfortably caught up to them, and Grenadine started pressing against the right side of the Ica storm. I mean, you say that, but actually we see it's on the left side, but okay. Pushing Takeshiba and Lady Hinode off the road. Oh, sorry, never mind what I said. It's wait. No, I mean, shouldn't it be against the left side? Whatever. Into the guardrails. There was nowhere to go. The highway was endless and featureless. An exit from it was still too far away. The Chase Mirage was already firmly in control of the situation. Despite losing a wing mirror, Grenadine Pin tried to push the Ica Storm further away. The excess power of the Mirage compensated for its weaker frame, and Grenadine succeeded in ramming one wheel of the Ica Storm onto the edge of the road. Takeshiba held the steering wheel steady, as if anticipating an inevitable realization. You got me, Mr. Driver! She said with a joyful voice. As if this was a kind of game for her. A roar could be heard as the Mirage accelerated. And seconds later it was leaving the Ica Storm behind. The gap was becoming bigger and bigger, but... oh boy. Suddenly Grenadine Pin engaged the handbrake and turned around with a long slide, ending up facing the oncoming Ica Storm. At this point, Takeshiba was still far enough, but it was clear to him what was going to happen. A game of who will flinch, but with Lady Hinode. This was a game he knew he would not be able to win. And once he saw the Chasseurs' lights pointed in that direction, he knew it was pointless to try to turn the car around. The Mirage would come in, charging with such excess of speed, they would take terminal damage, and Lady Hinode would certainly be injured, or worse. Takeshiba floored the gas pedal to close the distance as soon as possible. Makes sense. The less speed the Mirage could develop before they would meet, the higher the chances for them. Before she could blink, the accelerating Grenadine was already too close to the white car. Cursing, she attempted to swerve to sideswipe the Ica Storm. But Takeshiba had enough control to securely jink to the right, and the moment of the speeding Chaussee Mirage was too much to catch them. But then, a small object was ejected from the back of the Mirage, and a deafening blast followed milliseconds later. Is it a grenade or whatever? I thought so. The first of the assassins that tries to use something other than car. Grenadine instantly pulled the handbrake, and the Mirage glided sideways, pushed even by the explosion, rotating it back into pursuit. Shaken by the violence of the explosions, Lady Hinode regained consciousness again. At the very same time, a voice came through the speakers once again. I must say, if you show any more resilience, dear driver, it will be cut into my profits. These explosives are not cheap. think I consider myself to be a businesswoman? Well, for me there is only one businesswoman, and it's Lady Hinode. And you want to hurt us. You are not one. Takeshiba replied, as if stating a fact. What? I'm not going to be insulted by a cretin like you? You think your precious hearted girl in the backseat is special? There are thousands of women like us. She just had more luck. Well, luck is an indicator in life. She really works hard for her business. Still need to utter a word. Lady Hinode was gathering strength to say something, but the upset killer was faster. Laughed Grenadine. The rumors were true? You really are a stupid creature? It's a shame your lady seems to be dying on her own. I could have just waited the whole thing out. I'll get her safely in time. Takeshiba replied determinedly, but Grenadine was completely ignoring his words. This close situation is completely ridiculous. She continued, speaking to no one in particular. For a second, she even fell silent. But then, as she spoke in, her voice was almost quivering with anger. Hey, fever lady, wake up! Grenadine was now ignoring Takeshiba, and addressing Lady Hinode despite knowing of her condition. If you can hear me, you should be ashamed. Ashamed, you hear? As much of a simpleton as he is, I must in fact agree with your driver. Yes, I am. In a word, a killer. But you are a true businesswoman. Can at least you follow what I'm saying, mademoiselle? You are the purest expression of business. That is to say, greed, selfishness, and ignorance. I wouldn't say that. His skills are worth half your entire fortune. And what do you give him? A simple salary, no doubt. He even lives like a servant on your grounds, in his little house far away from your castle. And he, the naive fool, he does nothing because he doesn't even understand how the world works. You are simply using him, you bitter snake! Lady Hinode, summoning all her strength, tried to respond, but was immediately choked up by tears. Oh, yes, the tears of deceit! What a performance! Bravo! Applaudissement! Mademoiselle! Make him believe your lies! Make your tears your argument! Make him into the loyal dog at your side! For that's what he is to you, and all you need is to just keep feeding him and on occasion pet him, and he'll give his life to protect your dishonest existence! Grenadine replied mockingly, but with increased disrespect apparent in her voice. He is everything. Suddenly Lady Hinode let out almost as if in a fit of hysteria, with all the strength she could find, immediately fainting back into the seat. Her breaking voice and feverish face plainly visible even for the rear view mirror where Takeshiba could look to make sure she was alright. You're so pathetic, mademoiselle! A child behaves like this? Grenadine laughed, not impressed in the slightest. You aren't worthy of his skills, and you never will be. I shall be doing him a favor by blowing you both to pieces. It will be an act of mercy. No more suffering as you mistreated, cage animal. And as for you, you will burn for a long time. A fate you so richly deserve. And with that, Grenadine spoke no more. Her words failed to reach the unconscious Lady Hinode, and Takeshiba didn't respond. The sight of Lady Hinode was unbearable to him, and all that was on his mind was to bring her home, where her doctor would take care of her. But the French killer did not waste time. Once again, with ease, the Chaussee Mirage overtook the Ica Storm. This time, however, Grenadine opened a much bigger gap between them. We try again, yes, Mr. Chauffeur? She said, laughing. And this time, no mistakes would be made. The Mirage's headlights were pointed directly at Takeshiba's car. There was no doubt a collision would happen. Takeshiba could say nothing to prepare Lady Hinode, who was sleeping from exhaustion, unaware of her surroundings in the back seat. It could not be avoided. Takeshiba knew that he had to evade. And he knew that Grenadine Pin knew as well. If he lets it come to a head-on collision, they will both die. If he tries to evade, Lady Hinode will be more vulnerable than him. And if something happens to her, and only he would survive. He could not in his head put together an image of that happening. It was a chance he would not afford to take. Takeshiba was all but resolved to collide with Grenadine head-on. But then a small flash appeared on the right side of the chassis Mirage. It was a grenade dropped to the side by the French woman. Immediately he understood. She was counting on him evading because none of them had the chances of survival in a head-on crash. And because she knew he had Lady Hinode to protect, she may have assumed that he would evade, to save himself at least, for which he would have a high chance. And the grenade should ensure his demise as well. It would explode directly in front of the evading car, killing Takeshiba. And the siding back from the chaussee would take care of his precious lady. Perhaps I'll see another life, driver Takeshiba, Grenadine said, but the other second she noticed Takeshiba's move. Was that a drift? Why not a sharp evasive left turn? Surprised and again, she changed her plan and turned in to target the back doors where Lady Hinode was sleeping. Even at this speed, this extra impact with the front of the Mirage would be fatal. But at the very moment the grenade exploded, and she knew what he had done. The explosion almost flipped the drifting car, and Grenadine saw her target vanish in front of her eyes. Even with her speed, she would not reach the doors anymore, as the momentum of the explosion blew the Ica Storm even more sideways. She accelerated, hard to still catch at least some part of the Takeshiba's car, but all that was possible anymore was a light bump to the back of the car. The explosion's energy was wasted, most of it went against the floor of the Ica Storm, pushing it away from Grenadine's Mirage. Takeshiba had used her weapons against her. Enraged Grenadine Pin turned the car around to once again follow them. One more overtake and she would not try anything fancy anymore. There still were a few grenades that she had left, and she would simply get in front of the Ica Storm and let them loose, hoping to flip the car at least. She knew already that Takeshiba's car could withstand some grenade impact, but with speed and momentum, she could deliver the final blow. That undercarriage could not hold forever. It was time to execute the plan. Dude, you just need to become the Minister of Defense, known as Sergio Perez. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. It was time to execute the plan. And as expected, Takeshiba attempted to block, but Grenadine, having done it twice already, knew that the superior speed of the Mirage would make that overtake easy. Takeshiba even slowed down somewhat so Grenadine had to do the same. It was almost amusing to her. Her car's acceleration was unparalleled, and from slow speeds she would have an even easier time to find a gap and slip through, to drop her explosive in front of them. There was the gap! Grenadine smiled as she waited for the turbo to kick in, since they were going slower now. Suddenly, Grenadine realized nothing that Takeshiba did was without a reason. And that second that she was waiting for the turbo to spool up, it would be a perfect window of time for an attack! And before that thought could sink in, she felt the pressure of the Ica Storm, which was still in front of her by a nose's length. That meant Takeshiba had the leverage, and at these lower speeds also sufficient power to push the Mirage to the side, denying Grenadine any offense. Worse still, he was pushing her towards a rocky wall, certain to demolish the Mirage if it hit, ending the pursuit. Grenadine slammed on the brakes, but Takeshiba did the same, and trails of smoke were instantly behind them. But just as she was doing that, Grenadine also ejected a grenade on her left, directly underneath the Ica Storm, pressing her. Takeshiba would have no way of knowing this has happened, and in a matter of a second his car would But just as she was bracing herself to see the Ica Storm blown up from below, Takeshiba accelerated. The Ica Storm had no luck at these speeds, and it immediately created distance between them, exposing the grenade. Adios. We could not, in the end, fix you. Which exploded at the very moment, flipping the Mirage and forcing it canopy first against the sharp rocky wall. The Mirage caught on fire immediately, and Takeshiba heard another explosion. Yeah, I guess the other grenades, right? The Mirage's arsenal was now destroying itself. As they were pulling away from the final explosion, Takeshiba looked in the mirror to see Lady Hinode looking at him. He turned around for a second and saw her looking at him. I would never... I would... she tried to say. He meant to say something back, but was not certain what Lady Hinode meant to say. He felt it had to with the exchange with her and Grenadine, but it was, in his heart of hearts, that he could never believe someone who said angry things to Lady Hinode. And so, he stayed silent, quickly assessing as well how much longer they had until they would get home. Perhaps he should call them with the time they would arrive at, so they could get everything ready for her. Then, through the rear view mirror, he looked at her to confirm to himself she was alright. And if it was possible, through the high fever, Lady Hinode would have seemed as though she was blushing. But later, at home, when Takeshiba was falling asleep, certain words would begin to echo in his head. Was it just a sickly delirium that made Lady Hinode say them? What did they even mean? What is everything? He kept analyzing without success. And all he knew were those words. That he was everything. And that was the end of the episode. That's correct. We'll continue tomorrow. For now, as always, hope you enjoyed. If you did, consider liking the video. If you're not, consider subscribing. Always super appreciated if you stick around. And yeah, we'll slowly finish up this story. I don't know how many chapters exactly there are. But, well, we'll be going. I assume quite a few more, maybe, assassins to deal with. And we'll see where it goes. But the continuation tomorrow. I wish you all a fantastic day. Bye-bye.